All right, go for it.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. It's V, the Growth Economist, coming to you live with a man who needs no introduction at all to the audience members here, and that is the one and only Harley Schlanger. Harley, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, V. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Happy New Year to you and to all the cohorts and colleagues and friends over at LaRouche Pack and the Schiller Institute.
And are you surviving the cyclone bomb?
Barely, Harley. I'm barely surviving. But it's so far so good. I think people up north towards Boston and that whole area, I think they got the brunt of it. But we still got some snow. It's pretty much whiteout conditions where I am at right now.
Well, the question is, where's global warming when you need it?
I know. If only I've given more to Al Gore, none of this would have happened.
Yeah. Well, at least
Harley, there's so many
supposedly covering Manhattan will be frozen.
Yeah, exactly. I think if anything, we're heading towards another ice age. A lot of experts are saying for Northern Americas.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, Harley, there's a lot going on. Where do you want to start?
Well, there are two things that I want to cover. The first one is the significance of the conversation between the North and South Koreans yesterday, the opening of this new communication line. And I think that's really crucial because there are two things going on here. One, obviously, the North Korean feels confident enough in their military strength that they don't think they're about to be attacked. And therefore, they can now pursue a diplomatic initiative. And I think this is what the South Koreans wanted from the beginning. So with all the blustering that's gone back and forth, it does look as though there can be a peaceful resolution to the situation in North Korea. Now, at the same time, of course, the geopoliticians among the neocons are probably not too happy about that, but they're looking to see what they can stir up in Iran. So until we do something to take power away from the Wall Street, London, Brussels geopoliticians, they're going to use whatever opportunities they have to create destabilizations, wars, and chaos. And over the period between now and the State of the Union address, I think we should be watching for false flags and other kind of operations, because otherwise we're entering a new year of great hope and opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that's not something the neocons like.
Yeah, absolutely right. They don't like that at all. I mean, for now, I talked about it this morning. The Iran protest has pretty much been squashed at this point. So that's a good thing. Another failed deep state operation that's blown up in their face, Harley.
Well, and we'll see, because they still have things they can play in it. They're using this MEK, the Mujahideen Khalq, which until 2012 was a list on the State Department terrorist list. It was taken off the terrorist list by none other than Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Sure.
And they're being deployed to take advantage of the problems with the high price of food in parts of Iran. So there's still a potential for destabilization. And a lot of it also is coming from Saudi Arabia. But I think the Iranians can contain it. And then that brings up the more promising issue of reconstruction for the Middle East, the Chinese role. The Chinese now are doing more in Afghanistan as well. And it brings up the whole question of whether the United States and the British are serious about ending Afghanistan's dependence on opium as a cash crop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
And of course, that would have a very negative effect on the global banking community, because they depend on drug money as one of their sources of liquidity. That and Federal Reserve low interest credit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what they're going to be doing once the spigots on both those things are being shut off, Harley.
It can only be to the good for countries to have to figure out how can you create credit without enriching private bankers and draining the small and medium business and small banks of whatever liquidity they have. Right. I think this this really gets to the whole question of what Trump has to do with the State of the Union address.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to go into this with the idea that somehow the stock market going over 25,000, the Dow over 25,000 today, the so-called benefits of tax reform, if that's his economic program, he's going to be in trouble. I think it was John Cassidy in the New Yorker, who is occasionally a decent analyst, said the Trump bull market can quickly turn into the Trump slump or the Trump crash. And I hope the president is aware of kind of economic progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that he's aware of it too. I think, knowing him, I think he does. I mean, he's the guy who, while he was running, was stating that the economy's in a bubble, Wall Street's in a bubble. So I guess
Yeah.
he's kind of playing. I think a lot of the things that Trump is doing and saying are it's either political kabuki theater or just rhetoric, while the real agenda is being played underneath the surface, while appeasing the would be characters for the time being.
Well, you hope he's buying some time with this, but I think he's got to come out with a scorched earth policy. Look,
Yeah.
the new book that came out, The Fire and the Fury, this complete another example of a trashy British novel,
Right.
fighting Bannon on how crazy Trump is, how crazy the First Family is. As soon as this is publicized by none other than the Guardian and a few other locations, you have, I think, 50 something congressmen call for an investigation of Trump's mental and emotional fitness under the
Wow.
25th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the 25th Amendment doesn't give the Congress the power to do anything if the president is not capable of fulfilling his duties. It's up to the cabinet, the people who work with him. So what are the congressmen doing? Now, this is, I think it was Roger Stone the other day put out a warning that since Mueller and Russiagate could fail, given the exposés coming out of the fraudulent role of the British intelligence, Clinton, FBI, and so on, that there are two options then are the 25th Amendment and assassination.
Yeah.
To be alert for because there's a real.
Harley, I think we lost him. Harley, anybody there? Caesar, are we still live? Hello, am I live? Hello, mic check. CJ. What is going on here? CJ, you there?
We're still live, V.
I think we lost Harley. CJ.
Yeah, I'm here. Did we lose Harley?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Okay, yeah. Harley, you may need to reconnect. I see you're still in the Hangout, but you may need to reconnect.
And this is why we need to get rid of net neutrality. Serious.
He still could be talking, which is unfortunate because we're going to miss all of it. Yeah.
He could
Let me
be.
see if I can send him an email quick. Okay, I dropped him an email real quick.
Okay. See where he's at. If not,
yeah,
we'll have to.
he's connecting back.
Yeah. If anything, we'll just have to re-up for next week then.
Yeah, I know he was traveling, last week, and his was not good.
Right. There he is. Hey, Harley.
Yeah, okay, we're back. We lost the internet connection here.
Got it. Okay. I think you were out for how many minutes?
Can we pick up where we were?
Yeah, let's pick up where we were. What you said about maybe 3 or 4 minutes ago.
What was I? Where was I when you lost me?
We're talking about what Roger Stone said. Something
Oh
about
yeah,
either
okay.
Article 25 or assassination. That's where we left off.
Okay, well, the point is that Mueller is not going to stop, despite the fact that it's exposed that this is a British, Clinton, CIA, FBI operation. And
Right.
what they're most terrified of is that Trump has broken with the old geopolitics.
Yeah.
So here we are in the new year, and we're seeing that the old geopolitics is being tossed aside. The potential for a Korean solution, the potential to defeat terrorism, which has largely worked in Syria. The Chinese now bringing the Japanese in as partners in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine China and Japan in 4 major projects together in Africa. The Germans are jealous as can be because they thought they would be the ones to develop Africa, and they're being left out because they're sticking with the old financial rules of so-called transparency, environmentalism, and so on. The people in Africa, they want rail connections, they want electricity, and they're not going to get them from the IMF and the World Bank.
Right.
So there's a whole new game in town, you might say, the new Silk Road. And I think this is what Trump is orienting towards. So we were talking about whether he's biding his time, what's going on with this. You know, we'll see what happens. I think these kinds of books coming out, which are completely smear jobs, serve as a good effect to inspire Trump to get mean and nasty again. And he's got to get mean and nasty against these guys.
You know what these fools don't realize? He is literally the best there is. I mean, he single-handedly destroyed mainstream media, and now they're going to go ahead and write a book like it's going to do something. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Well, and he's also destroyed. Well, he didn't destroy the reputation of the FBI. The FBI did that. What's interesting to me is that people who knew the FBI in the 60s and the 70s, a lot of leftists were aware that the FBI ran the black bag operations against them, the COINTELPRO, the attacks on Martin Luther King.
Right.
They're now cheering the same FBI. This is the same FBI as J. Edgar Hoover. And again, what's the purpose? Control the presidency, control the executive branch. The FBI operating as a private force representing private interests. And Trump has created the circumstances where either the new FBI director, Wray, is going to clean up the mess, or there are going to be people going to prison. And I think there very well should be some people going to prison.
I think it's heading that route.
Yeah, you look at people like McCabe, you look at Peter Strzok. You had this op-ed in the New York Times yesterday by the 2 founders of Fusion GPS saying, we're proud of our work, the so-called Steele report. We protected the United States from the aggressive Russians. You know, what nonsense.
Give me a break.
On what planet do people believe this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they're complaining that they've been made victims by the Republicans, when in fact they're part of the operation that's held the president and the executive branch hostage for a full year now. So if we can break the power of the Mueller investigation and open the door for going after these neocons, neoliberals, these frauds, then the prospects are really bright in 2018. And when I say bright, I mean real investment in the physical economy, finally.
Yeah.
That's what's needed.
Right, absolutely correct.
And B, the other thing that people should look at, I'm working on an article right now on this, which I can make available to people if they're interested. The debt problem, the corporate debt bubble. This is set to blow. It's growing at an unprecedented rate. It's fueled by it's actually both fueling and fueled by the stock market appreciation. And it's a unsustainable bubble.
Yeah.
And this is something that's going to have to be addressed with Glass-Steagall, or we're going to lose the whole banking system, good and bad.
Right. I agree.
And this, this is in the discussion right now, where you have Trump meeting with his economic advisors. Hopefully, there'll be a muzzle on Mnuchin, because news, it would be very good for him to leave.
What's Mnuchin saying? Like, what's he up to?
Well, Mnuchin is one of the guys who's saying that there needs to be more deregulation for banking. And if you're talking about getting rid of Dodd-Frank as deregulation, fine, that's a good idea. But they're talking about taking away any prohibition on trading, which for the most part is banks getting virtually unlimited liquidity to put into increasingly risky speculation. Mnuchin is also the one who's telling Trump that the stock market appreciation is proof that America loves you. So just keep it going. Don't do anything to mess with Wall Street.
Oh, yeah.
And what is that? That's an attack on the possibility of Glass-Steagall.
Right.
Because they're saying everything's working out well. We don't need to mess with it.
Right.
Now, I'll just tell you quickly, in Europe, there's growing tension from Eastern Europe that's affecting the EU. There's a new government in Austria which is totally committed to working with China. The French President Macron, whoever or whatever he is going to China with industry and business in France telling him he better come back with some deals. So we're seeing some countervailing shifts occurring in Europe, which would tend to put the Europeans more on the side of what Trump is doing with China. So again, this is part of the potentially positive developments that we're seeing coming in this new year.
Let's see what Macron does. I mean, right now he wants to pass laws to ban fake news or something like that.
Yeah.
It's hilarious to say the least.
Well, and he's also still working with the non-government of Germany to give more power to the Brussels bureaucrats to control the budget and economic policy in Europe, which is a non-starter. It'll never be accepted. So, there's a mixed bag there. But, if you actually go to China and see the future, see how it's working, see what both of the problems but also the developments, it offers a different perspective. I had a friend who just spent the period between Christmas and New Year's in Shanghai. And when he landed at the Berlin airport and had to wait an hour and a half for his baggage, he said, "Boy, I thought we were in the advanced sector."
Yeah, I mean, true story. True story. That's why I encourage any Americans, you want to see what the rest of the world is like, go take a trip. Go to the East. Go to Singapore. Go to Shanghai. Go to Hong Kong. And your mind will be blown away.
Yeah, it's one of the things that gets you also outside of the bubble of the fake news, which tells you that China is nothing but a corrupt autocratic regime in which people live in poverty. And it's just not true. There's a new China.
Right. It is. And they've pulled more people out of poverty than any other country in world history. 750 million people were taken out of poverty.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean everything they're doing is great or right, but they're doing some things very well, namely investing in the future and physical economy. And that's what we need to start doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Harley, can you comment on some of these rumors that we're hearing? There's a gentleman by the name of QAnon. I'm probably sure that you've heard of him. A lot of remarkable stories of everything from the things that are like the Guantanamo Bay reactivation, the sending of the National Guard over there. The supposed disappearance of certain global elites. Q's mentioned that these people are being held right now and that the takedown of the bad guys, so to speak, will commence this year. Have you heard anything like that from your network?
Well, the problem is that there's hope that is taking place, just as there's hope that Trump is going to use the Mueller investigation to shut down these networks. I'm a little skeptical, partly because the I don't know where the so-called good guys are. But I'll tell you, the most important thing is people to get an understanding of what the enemy is. And the enemy is
Right.
this committed banking cabal that wants to sustain a world of conflict, endless war, endless bailouts, endless austerity. And that has to be the fight has to be on these kinds of broader strategic policy issues. If we wage a fight effectively on that, defeated wherever they are, whether they're taken out in handcuffs or whether they're just put out in a poorhouse.
Right.
But a policy issue is the more important one than trying to look for prisoner cell. These guys might be showing up.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think while all these things are fine and dandy and they're pretty exciting to hear about, at the end of the day, we don't know for sure what the heck's really going on. But one of the things that we do know for sure is that we need to win on the policy level. We need to win on the policy level, just like you said. That's where the target should be, and I think people,
and
fine.
That's our
be excited
strength
about the goals focus
and their weakness. They don't have a policy level that they can sell. That's why Trump won the election. So we've got to get back to the kind of things that win.
I agree wholeheartedly. Definitely.
Now,
Harley Schlanger, thank you so much. Go ahead, Harley.
I'm just going to say one other thing to keep in mind is that the deep state is still there and still very dangerous. And we've got to make sure they're defeated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Harley Schlanger, thank you so much for being on, and thank you for sharing with us your thoughts. Folks, you can check out Harley at theschillerinstitute.org, theschillerinstitute.org. I also recommend you check out the LaRouchePack.com, LaRouchePack.com. Again, Harley, thank you so much. Be well. I'm going to try and survive out here in Snowmageddon.
Hopefully we'll be able to contact you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think hopefully, I think the weather's going to be a little bit milder. I see 40 degrees sometime on Tuesday, which is a welcome respite from the single digits that we've been experiencing here. Back to global warming. Oh, I can't wait. 40 degrees outside, Harley. I'm wearing board shorts and a t-shirt. Yeah. Okay, V. Good talking with you. Thank you, buddy. Have a great one. Take care.